Yo, have you heard of LinkedIn Learning? If you haven't, LinkedIn Learning is an American massive open online course provider. It provides video courses taught by industry experts in a variety of subjects. Now, why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because Living Corporate is in partnership with LinkedIn Learning to provide diversity, equity, and inclusion courses. Listen, if you're trying to be a better ally, you want to understand better diversity, equity, inclusion strategies, or you just want to learn how to be a better leader, you got to check out the courses on LinkedIn Learning. So check it out. You can do it one of two ways. You can click the link in the show notes, or you go to LinkedIn Learning and you search Living Corporate. Again, link in the show notes, or go to LinkedIn Learning and search Living Corporate. I'll see you over there.
Hello. Welcome to season 3. Uno, dos, tres of the Access Point. Where I have myself, Brandon Gordon, and we have our new co-host here. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia, and I am excited to be here, Julia Rock. I am excited to be a new co-host this season for season 3. Like you said, 1, 2, 3. I'm excited to hop into all the topics that we have this season.
It's very great to know. And well, where can the people find you, Julia? Where can people access you?
So people can find me. I'm pretty consistent on all social media platforms. You can find me at the Julia Rock on Twitter and on Instagram. So those are the places to find me. You can follow my company at Rock Career on Twitter and Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at the same handle.
All right. And you can find us on the Living Corporate X the world. You go to LinkedIn, type in Living Corporate. You can find us there. You can find us on Twitter at LivingCorp_pod. You can find myself. My name is Brandon Gordon, for those that don't know me, a Ghostface Signal on Twitter only. But yeah, so we have a lot of stuff coming up for season 3. You know, one of the topics that I personally wanted to do was defining personal success, right? So, Julia, how do you define personal? First of all, what is success, right? So, in order to define personal success, what is success, and how do you define it?
So, if we think about success, I think we have to remember that it's individual to each person, right? I think, we have the society kind of vision of success where, you're seeing the people on Instagram, the Diddy's of the world and the Jay-Z's on the yachts and thinking about, okay, is that the only thing that's success? But success means, when you feel like this is the life that I personally want, not what you see elsewhere, but what is it that I want? Where do I feel like I would have made it? And I think that level is different for every person. There's some people that feel like they made it when they get to Jay-Z's level or Diddy. And there's some people who are like, hey, I just want to have a happy family. I want to have enough money to take care of my family. And that's enough. And so I think success is an individual kind of decision or individual definition as to where you feel personally like, hey, I've made it.
Okay. All right. So now, so that's in the broad sense of the construct of the broad structure of personal success, right? So we talk about in the corporate world, right? So it's focusing now on the black and brown individuals such as ourselves in the corporate workforce. How do we define success in that atmosphere?
When it comes to being in the corporate world, and so just to give some background, so I've been a career coach now since 2006. And I've coached professionals from starting out from early in their career all the way to the executive level. And when it comes to success, in the corporate space, people feel like, okay, I've attained, whether it's a certain level of salary, for a lot of people, it's like hitting that 6-figure mark. It's like, okay, I've made it. Other people, it's about reaching a certain level of leadership. Like, how many people are you managing? Do you have a certain title, perhaps? Are you director or VP or senior VP? Or what kind of perks you're getting? Do you reach a certain level in an organization? You're getting stock options, or you're getting to travel more, or you're getting more of the other personal kind of benefits that people at a certain level get. So when it comes to corporate success, people either associate that with compensation or title or scope of responsibility, you know, how many people I'm managing, how many territories I'm managing or overseeing. So typically that's what people are looking for. Like when they come to me for coaching, is that they feel like they're stuck at a certain place in their career. You know, they feel like, okay, I know that I can be more than where I'm at right now. I see more for myself. And when I ask the question of, well, what do you mean by more? It typically means, you know, I can, you know, I feel like I should be managing more or have more opportunity or have more projects or more impact in an organization. Or it's that I want to make more money. I'm tired of making $50,000 or $60,000. I want to make $150,000 or $160,000. You know what I mean?
Right. So, and you know, people have, there's nothing wrong with having these ambitions and goals for yourself and to say that, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, whatever they may be. But do you give people a realistic time frame to achieve those goals? Right. So it's like saying somebody that's fresh out of college, you don't expect them to say, I want to make six figures as soon as I get out of college and not know a single thing about the industry. Or somebody that says, hey, I want to get my master's degree, but you know, it may take me longer than anticipated because I have family, kids, wife, husband, you know, the whole nine that comes with their territory. So do you give people that you're giving their coaching advice to a realistic time frame to say, hey, this may take you a couple years to do this. This may take you a day. This may take you a month. Like, how do you go about that?
So I think it's different depending on industry and depending on what people are looking for. So there are a lot of jobs now that you can come out of school and you're making six figures automatically, especially if you're in the tech field or if you're in high finance, you know, iBanking or some of these other opportunities. You can easily come out of school making six figures. But the question is, okay, well, you know, where are you trying to get to? Because some people are like, well, I want to go ahead and lead a large team. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, what do you already know about the field? What results have you delivered? Because in order to be entrusted with that level of responsibility or to have that big, fancy, sexy title of, you know, chief executive or senior VP, the expectation is that you have enough expertise to be able to lead and strategize. And if you're just coming out of school, a lot of times you haven't seen anything in a practical sense. You have kind of theoretical knowledge out of a textbook, but do you have the kind of practical expertise that's required to lead and shape an organization and create, you know, some of this strategy? And so I think it just, you know, when I talk to folks who are coming out of school or early in their career, it's about, instead of trying to run up the ladder, think about getting the level of experience that you need. Think about gaining the skills and adding skills to your tool belt and building results, because those are the things that will speak for themselves so that you can get those opportunities. And the other thing is you want to set yourself up for success. You don't want to get catapulted into a role that you don't have any experience in and you're not really ready for. Especially for people of color, where we know we have more eyes on us. And let's be honest here, when you're a candidate of color or an employee of color, you've got more eyes on you because people want to see, can you cut the mustard? And so you don't want to necessarily catapult yourself into a role where you haven't been prepared, you don't have the skill set, you don't have the tools just yet, you're still learning. And then people are asking so much of you and, you know, you've kind of overpromised and now you're under delivering because you're not ready.
Right. And I just wrote a good question. I have those are not. I always keep a notebook with me.
Okay, all right.
So one of the questions I had was, and you can ask me questions too as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just you know, I didn't know if you had any questions because like I know that you being the new co-host.
It was good. I just wanted to see because you know I'm trying to get like touch certain topics and then try to overarch it together. So one of the overarching questions I had was how to set the groundwork for success, right? So no matter what field you're in, right? How to set the groundwork. So when I think about how to set the groundwork is, are you willing to learn whatever field you're in, right? And I'm in the field of engineering, right? So I have to learn certain topics, certain industries of what is the industry going, what is my actual day-to-day job description, what is the managers doing, what is this group next to me doing, this engineering group next to me doing, so I can understand what I'm doing. So there's many different fields that I need to learn to make myself more successful. And one thing I've learned is to be willing to learn. Back in my career, I'm still in my career, but back in when I was in 24, 25, I thought I knew it all because I was fresh out of school. I was like, yeah, I know everything. They can't tell me anything. But I realized it's a vast world, and it's more than just what I've learned in the textbook. So what I had to learn was I had to learn to humble myself and say, okay, I need to learn from these particular people what it is I need to know. And once I've done that, my window of opportunity opened up because people were willing to give me information now because I was willing to learn. Nobody wants to be around somebody that doesn't want to learn, right? People are willing to talk to you. People are willing to be more open with you as long as you allow yourself to be open. So that's one thing I learned, just make yourself allowable to learn. Another thing is to actually retain the information that you're learning. There are many things out there from whatever field you're in. It's just so in depth, so much, it's given to you so fast, and you have to learn it in a short amount of time. I have my fraternity brother. He said he still reads his anatomy textbooks every night. Because he's a doctor. I think he's an emergency room doctor, so he still reads his books every night before he goes to sleep. So he's still learning, he's still understanding, he's still trying to. He knows the concept, but he wants to be refreshed on everything. So keeping up with that, also learning how to what's that other one looking for? You can also interject me anytime, Julia.
Yeah, no, I wanted to let you finish your thought, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about is always being willing to learn and not acting like you know it all. One of the things about, especially when you're earlier in your career and you're starting in an organization, that's the perfect time to be a sponge. People are expecting you to come in and want to learn. You don't have to put on you know everything. That's different from when you get into a senior leadership role and you're kind of trying to find that right balance of, how much do you know, how much do you not know, and that kind of thing. But when you're coming fresh out of school, this is a time for you to ask as many people as you can questions, whether you're setting up lunch with people, whether you're setting up shadowing sessions with people, whether you're just reading, taking trainings online, asking your management to take as many trainings as possible. That's the time to soak up as much knowledge as possible earlier in your career.
Yeah, and I think it's a pride thing because people don't want to ask questions. People think if I'm asking too many questions, they think that's bad. No, that's actually a good thing. Well, also
really good thing.
Ask the right questions if you don't repeat the questions, right? So if you're learning something, okay, learn that topic, but then retain it. Don't learn it and then you forget it and then you say, oh, well, how do you do this again? I just showed you this, right?
Right. And the practice of that, of those things is really where it comes in, right? So if you've asked someone questions and they've demonstrated something to you and you've had a chance to get some insight about it, then your job is to go and practice it. So you don't have to go back and keep asking well, how do you do this again? And where do you find this? Make sure you're taking the notes. Make sure you're taking screenshots. Exactly. Make sure that you're getting yourself as prepared as possible, and you're trying your best to retain the information because people like seeing if you're inquisitive or intellectually curious, that they want to see that you're showing an interest in the work. However, there's a difference, you get past a certain point if the questions are repeating themselves. It's okay, well, now you're not curious. It's just the fact you're not grasping the material. And so you don't want to veer into that side. And something that goes along with that is also not being afraid to make mistakes. I know that for many of us, pride is well, I'm new on the job and I have to have this, trying to be perfect because it's you want to make a good impression. But I got some really good advice from a manager some years ago, and I carry this with me to this day. he said, you know, I made a mistake, and I was like beating myself up about it. I was sitting in my cubicle and just like super just sad. And he walked past and he's like, what is up? He's like, you're not talking? Like, what's happening? Because I'm typically talking in the office. And he was just like, you know, and I told him, I said, I made a mistake on the plan and I'm not really happy about it. I feel like I shouldn't have missed this, or I feel like I should have done this differently. He's like, hey, listen, is this the first time you've done this? And I said, yes, this is my first time going through it. And he said, hey, listen, if this is your first time and you make a mistake, it's fine. Because if you're not making mistakes, that means you're not learning anything. He's like, so now that you've done it, now you know what the mistakes are. So now when you do it again for the next cycle, you know what not to do. And so for anyone listening, if you're wondering about, I don't want to make any mistakes at work, it's okay to make mistakes because you're learning. But it's learning from those so that you can make your processes better, you can make your processes faster, or you can just make sure that you're executing things more accurately because you've made the mistake up front.
And while you was doing that, I have a couple of follow-up questions I want to ask you based on your great statement. How does success define who you are?
Ooh.
How does success define who you are?
How does success define who you are? I think I'm going to challenge that. I don't think that success defines who you are. Okay. I think who you are defines the success. Because what we don't want is that we attach our self-worth and our self-esteem to what we've achieved or what we've attained. And so what I have found with coaching people at a certain professional level, they find it very difficult to transition in their careers because they are so attached to, well, I got to director level or VP level in this type of industry and in this company. And so the idea of leaving all of that behind, it scares them to death because it's like, who am I without that? And so we go through exercises on kind of who am I independent of those things to try to bring them back to earth. And so for those who are listening, don't attach your self-worth and who you are and the kind of, human being that you want to be. Don't attach that to, what you've achieved or what you plan to achieve. Those things are independent. You should be a whole person independent of how much money you make, what company you work for, what you attain, what car you drive, what title you have. You should be a whole and complete being who's in love with yourself outside of those things. Those things just kind of add to who you are. And I don't think we talk about that enough because it seems kind of philosophical and abstract and you seem like a therapist. But what I see happening later in careers is that people didn't do that work up front. Everybody told them, hey, you got to make six figures. You got to work at the big, these big companies, or else you're not really successful. And so if we have that conversation with folks early on, I feel like that can shape how they progress in their career. And they're not afraid to make changes or pivots because they're not attached to this career thing or that career thing or this money thing or that money thing.
Now, okay, so now let's do the opposite, right?
Okay.
Are you a failure because you didn't succeed in certain things that you wanted to do?
I think what we also have to get out of mind is that failure is a bad thing. Failure is not a bad thing. I feel like, failure has this kind of just dirty context, and it's like, but failing is a part of life, because if you haven't failed at anything, you haven't learned what hasn't worked. You haven't learned where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, so failing teaches you so much about yourself. And it helps you to become more creative and helps you to think differently and helps you to think more critically. And then again, it helps the success when something does work, it makes it more meaningful for you. So I think we should think of failures as learning opportunities, but I don't think that if you don't get a job, so I'll just tell you right now, I wanted to be an investment banker at JP Morgan Chase. Like that was my thing. I started in card services at JP Morgan and I was like, man, I'm going to be an investment banker. This is going to be a thing. And it wasn't a thing. Didn't get in, for whatever the reasons were, it didn't work out. And I don't feel like a failure because I feel like that was not the path I was meant to go down. If I was supposed to be an investment banker, that's where I would be. But if I had gone down the investment banking route, I don't think I would have started Rock Career Development, my company, and I wouldn't have been able to help Black and brown people to, you know, break through career plateaus and get to career success that they want. And so I think we have to think about, is failure mainly or could be a redirection for us, or an opportunity for us to rethink our strategy, or it may just be, hey, it just didn't work. It sucks, but it didn't work, you know, but it's a part of life. And sometimes it may not even be that philosophical. It may just be that, hey, I went through this rough patch and it sucks, but it's something that I can learn from. It's a life lesson that now I can go and apply to my next career step or my next life step.
And that's what I'll tell my wife.
Uh-oh. Is it me? Do I need to mute myself?
Try to mute yourself and see what happens.
Okay. Let me.
Okay. Huh. I don't know what happened. But I told my wife this the other day, right? Just because you didn't reach a certain outcome doesn't mean that the process that you took to do it didn't work. So, we was playing fantasy football. She would say, let's take a look at these players and see who can you pick out of these players to start your fantasy team. And she was like, I'll go with these people. Why do you go with these people? I think they're going to have a good game. Well, they didn't have the process of having a good game that week, but she was like, well, I failed at what I did. I said, no, you didn't. You learned that you took the process of saying, I did this, I did this, I did this. Now, somewhere along, you probably messed up somewhere, but we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about the end result. The end result was it didn't work out, but the process that you took was actually right. It's just that the end result didn't work out in your favor. But that's a part of life. I went through the same situation, Julia, when I wanted to be I'm a chemical engineer by degree. I wanted to work into the plants. I want to work into the plants. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I dreamt about doing my entire life as a kid. Didn't get in the industry. And for some reason, the universe said, go into safety, process safety. There was just the exact opposite of designing plants to make sure they don't. My job basically is to make sure plants don't blow up. So I was doing that for the past 7 years. I was trying to get into one industry, but everything else I was doing was taking me towards the industry that I'm in now. And what I've realized is working with the actual engineers who work in plants, that's not what I wanted to do. It looked like it was a dream of mine, but it's something I just didn't want to do altogether. But the industry that I'm in now, I love it. This is what, for some reason, I was directed to a different path. And yes, it didn't work out for me on that end where I wanted to be when I was like a kid in college and all the other good stuff. But when I got into the field that I'm in now, I love it. And I'm glad that the failures that I've had trying to get into one industry led me to another. So I never looked at it as a bad thing where I couldn't get into one industry. And that's what we should do. If something doesn't work out, hey, still learn from it. Still learn from what you did. Always learn from what you did and apply it somewhere else. Most things most life lessons, most teaching tools, they're all transferable. There's anything that you learned, they're all transferable to something else. It's just a matter of how you want to apply to it. And we have a comment from Justin. Justin says, I think what we define as success reflects who we are in terms of our values. That is true. That is very true. And Justin, if you want to expound on that, please do.
And I want to just go back to the point that you're making about it, something that we learned from. Let's just take ourselves back to childhood. When we were riding bicycles as a kid and we fell off, we didn't just say, we're never riding a bike again, forget it, to hell with bikes, right? It's like, no, you you fall off your bike, you get back on the bike, you've got your skinned arms and knees, and you keep going back until you learn how to ride the bike. And so it's the same thing with opportunities in life. If something doesn't work, maybe it's something that you have to tweak or try a different angle, or it may just be that, hey, I need to be redirected down another path. For you, BG, you were able to pivot from going into chemical engineering, and now you're in process safety, and you realize, I don't even want to do chemical engineering. Too much. I don't even like that life. Forget it. Right. And I'll tell you, I worked at a plant in finance. I worked in Baton Rouge in a chemical plant, and I see what these folks are doing. I don't envy them at all.
Wow, at all.
And if I had been an investment banker, I wouldn't have been able to I don't know if I would have the opportunity that I have right now, which is to live in Argentina. I mean, what are the odds, right, of being able to relocate and live in a whole other country on a company dime? It's a huge opportunity. So I think it's, we can't get wrapped up in failure and let that stop us from trying things, or let that stop us from making progress. Life happens, but this is an opportunity for us to learn and find what success really means to us, so that when we finally attain that thing we're looking for, we can truly appreciate it for everything that it's giving us. So if anyone who's listening, if you failed at something, listen, that's a part of life. It's a learning opportunity, and it's an opportunity for you to take a step forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do have another question I wrote down as well. Also,
yeah. I love questions, by the way. So this works for me.
I love asking questions. I like also note taking. Note taking is a great tool. Who do you need in your career? Who do you need in your corner to coach you in your career?
Woo! I love this question. I love this question because I feel like people they think they only need like one person, or if they're working with their supervisor, or if they have a mentor, but you need a suite of people when it comes to coaching in your career. One, I would say, is definitely a mentor, but you should have multiple mentors. You should have mentors within your organization, as well as outside. And when I say the word mentor, this is someone that can provide advice, can provide insight into the situations that you're facing. Typically someone who's a neutral party, so they don't have any skin in the game, because that way you don't want it to be that advice that they're giving you is somewhat tainted or clouded because they've got their own interests at heart. So that's a mentor. You should also have sponsors. And sponsors and mentors are not one and the same. Mentors, again, are people who provide advice on, like I said, internally, externally. Sponsors are typically people at a more senior level in the organization, people who I like to say have the juice, who can, speak your name in rooms that you can't get into. And these are people that you tap periodically, for conversations, or you can, who can push you for opportunities, but they're not the same thing as a mentor. They like I said, they've got juice to help push your career along in ways that mentors or you can't. In addition to that, you should have kind of just neutral confidants. So people that if you're in a situation, where it's like, hey, I don't know how to handle this. People who are truly like, whether it's that they're, even if they're family members, friends, people that you can go to though, but have a different perspective that, hey, I just need another set of ears on this. I've talked to my mentors, I've talked to some folks, but I just want another set of ears on this. So like I said, trusted confidants, whether they're work colleagues, family members, I think sometimes will have like, I just, just do your best. So I would be mindful about having family members, but friends who can be objective, or work colleagues that you can bring issues to. And then I would also say, one of the most important relationships you're going to have in your organization is with your supervisor, your manager, supervisor. That is the person that, if you have an assessment or a performance assessment, they're going to be going into the room, probably representing you and talking about your experience. They're the person that's supposed to be providing ongoing development on a daily basis. This is the person that should be seeking out opportunities for your career. So, people say, I hate my boss. I barely talk to this person. If you're trying to have a career in an organization, you have to manage that relationship with your supervisor. If it's not working, see if you can fix it. And if not, see if you can move on to another team. It's not okay to be in a situation where you and your boss hate each other, because they're a person who can truly put a stop to your progression in an organization. And so it's truly vital to have that, or have that relationship working as well. So mentor, sponsor, trusted confidants, as well as your supervisor. Those are 4 immediate sets of people that you should definitely have in your career.
That's excellent. Yes, I agree literally to every word she said, because that is absolute truth. There will be people in your career who actually try to tear you down because they see you as equals and they want to make sure that they get ahead of you. There are some people like that in the world. I don't know why, but they will try to get ahead of you in any way, shape, form, or fashion. They'll try to tear you down in the process. So have those people in your corner, have those people to push you. You already have a strike against you because you are a person that's minority. So you have to keep those things in the back of your mind and still push through, persevere. It's the world we live in, and we can't do anything about it. But the things you can control is the things that you do. You don't want to put yourself in a position to where you're hurting yourself, and so to speak. Go ahead, Julie.
And here's the T. You want to make sure that you, when it comes to mentors and sponsors, that you have people that are not of color as well. Don't just gravitate to all the Black people or to all the people of color. I mean, while they should be part of it, it is essential that you have people that are not of color who are speaking your name in rooms. I will tell you that opportunities that I have had in my career have been because a white person has said, Julia's the person for this opportunity. So I'm telling you, you've got to have people of all walks of life, all ethnic backgrounds representing you.
And I don't know if people ever heard of this, like these stories where if there are like Asian companies that are coming to America or there are American companies that are going to Asia and want to do business there, they always bring a couple of white people with them. And for whatever reason, Asians think that because you have a white guy in a suit, it means that they're prominent, that means that they're down for the cause, whatever the cause may be, and that they're repping the business, right? So they always think, for some reason, they think that, but it always works. So I would say to say, have white people in your corner, Not all white people are bad. Have white people in your corner. Have those people to speak how. And it's like, oh, this, it sounds really like this guy's doing well. You're talking about him in a positive manner. Yes, and you'll be surprised that if you can get a few white people to trust you, a lot of white people will trust you. And I know it sounds bad when you say it. Like, wow, I can't believe I actually said that, but it's the actual truth, right? If you have people in your corner that don't look like you can speak highly of you, other people who look like them will also think highly of you. And I always keep that mantra when I go out and speak. Not only am I representing myself and my company, but I'm also representing Black people as well. I'm also to have them in my, the Black people, right? I work with Brandon. He's a good guy. He does this. I've gotten referrals from people because I've done good business with white people, and they refer me to other white people who also want to do good business, right? So it always works out like that.
And here's some additional tea that we also don't talk about, is that all skin folk ain't kinfolk, right? And so the thing is, you may think that, well, I'm going to get in with all the Black people and that's all I need. And I will tell you, as someone who has heard other Black people with my own ears tear me down to my own management, I have been privy to that. They didn't know I was listening. I was on the other side of the wall, but you're walking past and you're just like, wait, they're talking about me to my boss. This is awkward, right? And so you have to remember that, and it's terrible to say because, we all want to kumbaya and go to the promised land together and all that jazz. But the fact is, a lot of times there are people who may look like you, but don't have your best interest at heart, because they have their own interests or they want to get ahead. And so it's so important to diversify your kind of mentor, sponsor, advocate base.
And they see you as a threat because we're already minorities in certain fields anyway. So if another person who looks like me can move ahead, well, I need to knock him down because there's only certain opportunities for us anyway. I'm barely where I'm at right now. So there's another guy who looks like me who has to take my spot. I got to tear him down to make myself look good. And, just like Julia said, all skin folk hit your kinfolk.
And so I have a follow-up question for you. So for someone who is listening, who is like, man, I'm just starting out and I see that, you know, that it's hard for people of color just in the workplace. And, you know, they're thinking, is it truly possible for me to attain a certain level of career success? Because you see what other people of other walks of life, whether they're white or other people of color, and it's like, if you're a Black person, especially, it's like, can I truly attain a level of success? You know, what are your thoughts on that? Because there's some people who I've talked to who are just like, is it possible for Black people to get to a certain place in their careers? And, you know, they see one or two, but it's like, is that really possible for a broader group of us, or are we the exception and not the rule?
No, it's possible for anybody, right? It's possible for as long as you set your mind to what you want to do and you don't let nobody deter you from your goals. Absolutely, it's possible for you to go somewhere. You know, they always had to be one person to knock down the door, right? Now it's up to that one person to keep that door open so others can come in, right? So if you're the first person in your field who does this, make sure you hold the door open to bring others in as well. You don't want to be the one who closes the door, because now they got to fight to open that door. And most of the time, you're the person who's gatekeeping the others from getting in, right? So if you want to do something, you're the first person to ever, like, what was it? Was it Ruby Bridges, the first woman who went to an integrated school? Is that her name?
I think so. No, don't quote us, y'all. Or if you have the name, drop it in the chat. Please, we're the worst Black people ever right now.
But yeah, she was the first one who went to an integrated school, right? The first kid who went to an integrated school. Now she was, yes, over time, more kids started going, right? So you have to go, have the mindset, okay, I'm the first person to do it. That's fine. Keep going. Like, I'm the first person. Like, I was my family. I'm the first person to actually go to college, right? I'm a first generation college student. Now it's up to my cousin to let my cousins know, and, you know what I'm saying, my siblings know, like, hey, if you want to go this route, college is the way to go. And by all means, not only did I open a door to show that, hey, you can do it, but I opened a door and gave him pointers in the process to say, hey, this is what you want to do. These are the steps you need to take to make sure you're successful in that area. It's like I say, everything's transferable. So I take those concepts and say, hey, I'm the first person, or there's only a small handful of us that are doing this, right? Like Living Corporate, for example, I haven't seen another platform that does what we do. I haven't seen another platform that do what we do. We actually talk to Black and brown individuals that are in our age group to say, hey, these are the steps that we need to take to better ourselves in our careers, right? So we're the pioneers of this. So when we have a very vast knowledge base, we have a Living Corporate network that we have. They send us around us, so we can take that and apply it to other places as well, and apply it to other people. And say, hey, if this is what you want to do, these are the steps. This is the knowledge base. This is what we came up with. Go ahead and apply it.
And I think that's the thing when it comes to getting to somewhere in your career. Use your resources, right? So if you're someone who is looking at this like, hey, I'm not sure how to get ahead in my career, or I feel overwhelmed at the prospect of trying to get ahead in my career, you've got two people here on the screen who have worked and have made careers for themselves, who can share knowledge with you. Even if you don't have anybody else, you now have two people in front of you that you can reach out to get information from. Use your network, use your resources. The one thing that I feel like, especially when it comes to people of color, we feel like we've got to do it on our own backs, and we don't want to name drop. We want to make it on our own. And I'm watching white people who are like, listen, my daddy did this, my auntie did this, my grandma was a thing, and they're happy to play on whatever family benefits or whatever perks they have. We're the only ones who feel like we've got to do it on our own. Forget that. Use what you have.
You like a good one like this, just like you said, Julia. You know who Meghan McCain is, right? From The View. And she name drops her dad all the time, like you don't know who her dad is. She still did. My dad is John McCain. He did it. We know who John McCain is. We know who your dad is. But she damn sure makes sure that you know that John McCain is my dad. And I will let you know that every chance that I get. And
every chance.
And it works. And it works. So
every chance she gets, like any airtime she has, there's not a time she's on a screen without her dad's name coming on. And that man has been dead now for how long? And still, every 5 seconds, that man is in a sentence.
And it works. So
and it works.
Network, use the names, name drop. Make sure you keep those same connections with those people when you do name drop. Because the last thing you want to hear is, hey, I know X, Y, and Z. They be like, who? You know, so name drop, keep those same connections, network, talk to mentors, keep mentors, have sponsors, have people in your corner. You know, these are all the things that will help you when you define your success, right?
And just to going back to name dropping. So cheat code for if you're trying to build your LinkedIn network. If you're trying to connect with someone and you can name drop somebody in their network, especially someone notable, you can say, you know, let's say I was someone notable for whatever reason. It's like, hey, you know, I'm connected with Julia, and Julia mentioned that you and it would be good for me to connect with you. Sometimes that's able to help you help to ease the connection versus you just reaching out cold or blind to someone. So, you know, again, name drop, use connections, whether it's your alumni networks at school, whether it's your fraternity or your sorority, if it's your professional associations at your school or honor society. Use the resources at your disposal. Everyone else is doing it. Why not us? I mean, honestly.
And with that being said, Julie, we had a great show for the third season, first episode. So, defining personal success. We talked about it for 40 minutes. We've gone on and on. Julia, where can the people find you on the socials?
So if folks are looking for me, as I mentioned, I own a company called Rock Career Development, and we coach transitioning athletes. So those who are playing basketball at the pro or collegiate level, transitioning to careers. So you can find us at rockcareer.com or on Instagram and Twitter at Rock Career. If you want to get with me personally and follow my journey and contact me directly, I'm at the Julia Rock on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find me on Julia Rock on LinkedIn as well.
You can find myself, Brandon Gordon, at Ghostface Sigma on Twitter, just Twitter only. You can follow Living Corporate on Crowdcast at Living Corporate. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Living Corp, on Facebook on Living Corporate, and on Twitter at Living Corp _pod. Where you can have the access point, the break room, and many other shows that we have on the Living Corporate Network. And with that being said, we will see you guys next Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for episode 2 of Access Point. And until then, we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.